May 27, 2025, people of Africa receive our greetings as always. A reshuffling of the deck in the Sahel-Saharan region and a geopolitical movement that remains unnamed. It feels as if everything is being kept quiet, yet there are many things we can already analyze. A lot of trips. Everything revolves around the eastern countries. The eastern countries are gaining power. The eastern countries are being positioned on the global chessboard in a very, very, very strategic way. This influence is largely due to the respect that the eastern armies are currently commanding. That is why the authorities in the east should be encouraged to stay the course. You have no doubt followed with us the recent trips. Many countries have sent their representatives, or in any case their leaders, here on site. The United Arab Emirates sent their Minister of Foreign Affairs. Saudi Arabia sent its Chief of Staff, who even met with Mali's Minister of Defense and his counterpart, the Chief of Staff of Mali. There's Libya. Marshal Khalifa Haftar, as usual, sends his son Saddam Haftar to many countries. Saddam Haftar, for the second time, has arrived in Libya. He has already been, if I'm not mistaken, on April 10th or so in Libya, in Niger. He was in Niger, he was in Burkina, and this time he's coming back to Niger again. This is General Saddam Haftar's second trip to Niger in the span of 2 months. Why all this movement? At the same time, there is also cooperation with the Moroccans. Why all this movement? In the past, this country, specifically Mali, were under the influence of the blacks. Everything had to go through Algiers or Paris. And now, we are seeing a complete upheaval of the situation. Algiers and Paris are being completely pushed out. To be clear, in the past, when there was a crisis in northern Mali, they would make the Algiers Agreement or the Ouagadougou Agreement with Blaise, or it was the DJSC. Everything was discussed between Algiers and Paris. And now, the countries in the East are diversifying their partners. They are not the ones seeking out partners. Rather, it is the partners who are coming to them, knocking on their door. Each one presents their own action plan. Each one puts forward their own agenda. Our leaders are there, not making any moves. Except that I saw Niger, the Minister of the Interior, General Tumba, whom we greet in passing, who went to Niger because, as they say, he went to Libya. That is to say, if someone honors you, you should also know how to return the honor to the one who has honored you, at least in part. So in our culture, you have to know how to reciprocate honors. So the Minister of the Interior went to Libya. All these movements around the eastern countries, we need to look at what these countries have in common. These countries we're talking about, whether it's the United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, Marshal Haftar's Libya, or Morocco, countries that have good relations with Uncle Sam, with the United States. We are analysts, we don't operate on emotions. So, should we see a mission, a hidden hand of Uncle Sam behind these countries engaging with the eastern countries? It cannot be ruled out. But we should know that Uncle Sam has several faces in sub-Saharan Africa, particularly in East Africa, Southern Africa, and Central Africa. Generally, you have Kenya, Rwanda, Uganda, and to some extent recently, Tanzania, who take up this defense. When you see their troops and they tell you high-level peacekeeping, it's actually to defend Uncle Sam's interests. When you look at Rwanda and Uganda, that's the United States. Don't beat around the bush. These are also some of the geopolitical keys to Africa. And in the Arab world, when you see Jordan, you see Morocco, you see the United Arab Emirates, you see Saudi Arabia. Their military aspect is connected to the United States. And then the Algerian trolls told me, you see, you've thrown yourselves into the hands of the Americans. No, we hear everyone out, we listen to everyone. Our leaders are very wise, they are very mature. They know what they want. They are the ones who come to us. We are careful, we listen to everyone. Everyone brings their proposals. And that is what independence and sovereignty are. We are not children. African countries should not be treated like children. Hey, be careful with this one or that one. Watch out, be careful, you're going to get burned. No. We know how to listen to everyone. We observe everyone. And we also know who is who. It's not just me, your humble servant, who understands these issues a little. Even more so, our authorities, our leaders, I am convinced that they certainly have advisors around them who understand all these issues. When you look at these countries, yes, there is a connection with my with Uncle Sam. These countries have their own interests to defend, just as we shouldn't rule out that many of them hold a grudge against the behavior of the Algerian junta, the Tebboune junta, and have issues with the Franco-Algerian military alliance against the eastern countries. Because what is happening? You follow the trip of the Malian Minister of Defense to Kidal, where he went to visit a gold refinery in Kidal. This is very important to point out. Take this element to help us better understand a gold refinery in Kidal. And this gold, for more than 10 years, has never benefited Mali, not even a single gram. Where was this gold exported? Al-Jihad benefited from it, and no doubt the United Arab Emirates as well. If this gold can no longer be obtained through trafficking, since now it is the farmer who have taken control, it is the Malian authorities who have taken control of Kidal. Kidal has been liberated. If that is the case, then you have to come through the proper channels. In the past, if you took something through the window, and now the owner of the house has regained control, close the window, you will have to come knock at the door, and it is up to him to decide whether you may enter or not. That's what's happening. For those who want to understand, who did the United Arab Emirates send? Their Minister of Foreign Affairs. And what are their proposed plans? It's about how to fight terrorism together. I even see the visit of the Chief of Staff of Saudi Arabia. They're talking about setting up, I don't know, a commission of 200 cross-border experts to investigate, find the sources of terrorist financing, and then cut off those sources of funding. It all sounds nice. It's well said. We are analysts of geopolitical and geostrategic issues from the AES region. We must advise our authorities. This is our duty in order to succeed in this fight. Yes, we really do need to advise them. Because if you look at what's happening, which countries in the world are generally cited as financial supporters of terrorism? The same question. In order to get the answer, we raise and pose issues, and I am convinced that each of my subscribers knows how to decipher them. Today there is a terrorist who has come to power in Syria by overthrowing Bashar al-Assad. I've heard some people say, no, Bashar was a dictator. What did he do? How is he a dictator? Whether we like it or not, he was elected the way they wanted. Okay? Bashar al-Assad, whether we like it or not, loved his people very much, the Syrian people. He works for his people. Bashar al-Assad was overthrown by a terrorist who said had a bounty put on it by the Americans to the tune of $10 million. Today they say his head is no longer wanted because they had made it conditional on their interests being taken into account, meaning that Israel wanted the rest of the Golan Heights to be in Bashar al-Assad's hands. Today, Benjamin Netanyahu has deployed his military in the south of Syria. They have already gotten what they wanted. On the other hand, Turkey has its man at the head of Syria and is also a NATO country. Saudi Arabia and Qatar have advocated for all sanctions against Syria to be lifted. So the sanctions were also meant to incite the people of Syria to rise up, to make them rise up. And a terrorist ended up at the head of Syria. This terrorist is Abu Mohammed al-Julani. From now on, he's the acting president of Syria. And Saudi Arabia, Qatar, all these countries, the Arab League, all of them have called for all sanctions against Syria to be lifted. I believe that Qatar and Saudi Arabia have even committed to repaying all the debts. But Julani is a terrorist to us. He was a member of Al-Qaeda, he was a member of the Islamic State, he was the leader of HTS, Hayat Tahrir al-Sham. Today, he is in power, lifting all the sanctions. He is being received everywhere. This raises questions. The same countries came to the AES space to propose fighting against terrorism. I want to understand what that actually includes. Me, I just have some questions. Do you understand what I'm saying? We're just asking questions. What does that actually mean in concrete terms? He says to dry up the sources of funding. And I thought, given their military budget, maybe it was, okay, take $10 billion or give us an operational budget against terrorism for 12 months. After all, it was the armies that intervened in Yemen. There weren't any terrorists there. In fact, the terrorists operating there are opposed to the Houthis. So they are actually proto forces supported by the Saudis. So here, it doesn't really add up. In Yemen, they didn't intervene to drive out the Al-Qaeda terrorists who occupy part of southern Yemen. But rather, they acted against the Houthis, who are involved in everything except terrorism. That's where it starts to seem strange. It gets strange. In interstate relations, what matters are the interests you have to defend for your country, the interests to defend for your country. We Africans, we are not involved in certain interests. When I talk about women's interests, understand what that implies. For us today, the countries of the East need to make a counter offer to these countries that have come. And it varies from one country to another. In the United Arab Emirates and Qatar, we should ask them if their project to fight terrorism, to cut off terrorism financing, is truly sincere. I don't think it's experts who can resolve this, but rather the intelligence services of the three Eastern countries, along with the armies of the three Eastern countries, especially the Unified Eastern Force. We should tell them that the East, with its limited resources today, has managed to set up a force of 5,000 men, and that we are asking if they are truly sincere to help us. We already have the men. The youth are determined to at least increase this force to 30,000 men, with 10,000 deployed on each side of the borders, whose sole mission would be to track them down. So that's 25,000 additional men, and a financing plan over 2 years. 2 years with the equipment, their budget, that is, with all the expenses that go along with it, to hunt down these terrorists. For me, that's the very first thing. This is the counter proposal that the Eastern countries must put forward to the United Arab Emirates and to Saudi Arabia. First. Second, it is to ask them to effectively help block the routes, because today we are much more under attack from the terrorism of the NATO-Algerian coalition. But in fact, it is the Franco-Algerian coalition specifically. They should use their diplomatic weight alongside the Eastern countries to first obtain the indictment of the Macronist junta, because Mali has already filed a complaint. And we know that these countries, thanks to their relationships with Uncle Sam and Netanyahu, can achieve this if their efforts, if their request is sincere. Second point, another point, to also obtain the opening of the which will undoubtedly lead to the indictment of the Tebboune junta. The aggression, the Malian those that were shot down, were about to come and eliminate the main terrorist leaders of the Sahara-Sahelian band. So if these countries really want to help funding, find about their certain problems that are already well known. They need to be brought onto this playing field. Third thing, what these countries can do is use their underground networks to carefully and strategically disengage certain terrorists who have been activated. Yes, those individuals who have been recovered and then activated by the Tebboune-Macron alliance. Now, beyond that, these countries can do a lot because they have come. In Mali, what did they say? The coalition of Muslim countries against terrorism. Yet the people who commit terrorism claim to be acting in the name of Islam and call themselves Islamists. Now, the propaganda media of the Macronist junta don't even call them terrorists anymore. But this media simply call them jihadists. It's a way of putting a spin on things. Jihadists, separatists, and others. I even see that France has said they should all be grouped together. And now, Saddam Haftar's visit must come into play. They all came for me, I'm convinced of it. Everything is planned together. General Saddam Haftar, what is he doing? What is he proposing? He is proposing to secure the Niger-Libya border together. To jointly secure the Niger-Libya border. That is the proposal he's putting on the table. And more specifically, he would be pleased if Libya could use the Baka military base, which used to be operated by the French army in the area of Madama. Madama is located about 5 kilometers from the border with Libya. This base F and controlling this base would allow Marshal Haftar's army to project itself and, if possible, assist the countries in the east during certain operations. If this is real, certain guarantees need to be put in place. Do the countries in the east really need Libyan soldiers to come and fight on their territory? We have plenty of young people. It's just that the Macronist junta has been running our countries for a long time. The coffers have been almost completely looted. The current leaders in the East are practically starting from scratch, working to build up gold reserves and other such stocks. They are really hard at work. If Marshal Haftar's Libya is truly sincere in what he wants to do, then there is no problem. Instead of sending 2,000 men, perhaps to the border with Niger, to the Madama base, we simply need to help Niger recruit 2,000 men to station them there. Niger will do the job that Libya wanted to do, but with Nigerian youths. We just need to provide support, and we will be happy. Niger shares a border with Libya. Libya is the second country with the cheapest oil after Iran, and Libya is on the Mediterranean coast. Why not build a railway between Madama on the Niger side and Libya? Why not simply build a railway to help open up the region? We know that Saddam Haftar also came as part of efforts to control migration flows. Yes, but the Nigerian army should also be allowed to deploy in that area. We commend their efforts. The fact that they were able to capture the recalcitrant ones, the fugitives, Mahmoud Salah, if I remember correctly, the infamous leaders of the FPL, the Front, the Patriotic Liberation Front, the pro-Bazoum terrorist group. When we say pro-Bazoum, that means pro-Macron regime. Since we also have our Russian partners in Libya on the side of General Marshal Haftar, no doubt a joint Russo-Libyan operation led to the arrest of these terrorist leaders. It's a way to prevent chaos from taking hold in this area. They want to block it because Madama is in the Agadez-Madama area. So it is in the tri-border area, that is to say between Libya, Algeria, and then Niger. Libya, Niger, Algeria. In this tri-border area, you have these localities where the Franco-Algerian alliance, the military alliance, operates. Because the tension, the opposition between Algeria and France is diplomatic. It's not even economic. It's purely diplomatic and political. Politico-diplomatic, not military. The two countries maintain good, how should I put it? Good relations within the framework of the cooperation in the Sahelo-Saharan Strip. So don't be mistaken, you have to distinguish between things. They have disputes on the political and diplomatic levels, but when it comes to intelligence, there are no issues. Between their armies, there are no problems. Economically, the gas keeps flowing, the oil as well, they have no issues. So it's up to us to understand and anticipate these issues. So Libya, through its Russian partners, really wants to assert itself at this level. But support is needed. We don't want to outsource our security. The Nigerian army needs support to establish itself in Madama. Because afterwards, if Haftar's troops set foot there, it will be complicated to get them to leave. Economically, they are talking about fuel supply. There should be more support for Niger to extract its own fuel, which could benefit all three eastern countries. The same approach should be applied to Mali, which also has vast reserves. Niger really needs to become a true producer. We know that in these countries there is a unspoken agenda, the Trans-Saharan gas pipeline. The Trans-Saharan gas pipeline is supposed to pass through Nigeria, connect to Algeria, and supply Europe. So Algiers will be the driving force. This would give Algeria tremendous geopolitical weight on the international stage, potentially even overshadowing what are known as the Gulf monarchies, Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, Qatar, and others. So for them, the best way is to come to the east, specifically to Niger, to see how they can also prevent these projects from being carried out. They don't even need to make an effort. We ourselves, as long as Algiers shows itself in favor of terrorist groups against our countries, which Algiers calls, separatists and others, if Algiers is truly interested, it can keep the separatists in our country. At this rate, we ourselves, the countries of the East, are not ready to allow Algiers to have more resources, because more resources in Algiers' hands at this pace means more support for those groups that are attacking us. Oh yes, do they want to cut off the financing of terrorism? Then they should strengthen Niger militarily, help Niger put an end to terrorism on its territory, And at that point, we see through which routes Algiers will try to transport that gas in order to score more points with the European Union, but at the expense of the populations in the East. That cannot succeed. That's more or less where we stand. There are many things that need to be considered, that need to be taken into account. Now, these countries will also need to present us, both Morocco and the Gulf monarchies, each of them needs to tell us what their plan is to help the countries in the East overcome terrorism. Any country that can help us tackle terrorism in any way we can, we'll be grateful. And that's when you recognize true friends in times of difficulty. Because what we call the terrorists is actually a Franco coalition. Yes, Macron's cronies against our countries, they are well-trained mercenaries. We are beating them, we are kicking them out, but it takes the necessary time. Shortening this time frame doesn't mean deploying more men. We have enough men. How can we quickly increase the size of our armies and sufficiently boost our equipment? Instead of buying drones in batches of 5 or 10, how can we buy 200 or 300 at once? That's what it's about. How can we, for example, connect the city of Kidal to Gao with a properly paved road so the army can be deployed quickly? Connecting Kidal to Tenza Hotel. Because as soon as we start road work here, it's easy to attack and disappear. They come all of a sudden, boom, they set the equipment on fire and then they take off, they flee. All of this is under consideration. Our armies are working on it, but what is also their proposal? And in the meantime, we advise the AES authorities not to reveal our arsenal of war to anyone for now. We don't know who is sent by whom. If you want to help us, it's up to us to say how you can help us. That's how it works in international relations. You come to us, oh, you have a terrorism problem, we want to help you overcome terrorism. It's up to us to say, by doing what? Dry up the sources of terrorist financing. Should we neutralize them along with their sources of funding? What exactly should be done? What are the plans to overcome these mercenaries disguised as terrorists? Mercenaries, but whose method of operation is terrorism? The Eastern countries have the right secret to overcome them. For now, we are fighting with the means at our disposal. And at this pace, we can manage. They came to see us to find out if we were going to talk about it. Some people sent us messages saying we should speak out on the matter. That's what I think. Maybe in the coming days, in the coming weeks, geopolitics is never stable. Things can change at any moment. We can come back to it if things develop. Thank you, and see you tomorrow for another topic at the forefront of the news. Thank you very much.